Thank you for watching. My name is Glenn Morgan, and this is We the Govern. So today we're going to be talking about an issue. I really wanted to kind of address this last week, but a number of other things just kind of got in the way, so better late than never. And what I'm going to talk about here today is really the fact that the current mayor of Seattle, Bruce Harrell here, mentioned that 70% of the homeless, I'll put air quotes around the homeless, they aren't from around here. And that was kind of revealed like some great statement in a recent debate. And we're going to get into this because it is amazing how surprised some of our political class pretends to be when, if they give out free stuff, they're going to find out that the drug addicts and the quote unquote homeless from all around America are going to end up right here in Seattle, Washington. It's certainly worth knowing that. Now, before we get into that story, if you have not hit the like and subscribe button, please do so down below. It doesn't cost you anything except for a few seconds of your time, and we greatly appreciate it. More people who do that and comment on videos like this, it does help their visibility and gets them out there. And if you like the videos that we do here, please feel free to support us, and you can do so through the links down below at our website. All right, so let's just get into this. What really happened recently is there was a debate, and as you often will have, this is kind of an off-year election, so a lot of these local positions, many of which are very important to the health and safety and welfare of the community in which you live. We got school board races, city council races, all kinds of fire district races, local districts, local politicians all around the state of Washington who right now are on the ballot. And the mayor of Seattle is one of these races. And in that race, they actually had a debate, something that they don't have often in many of these races. And it was at this debate with his opponent that Mayor Bruce Harrell came out with a statement that surprised some people, unless you have actually been paying attention to it, where he actually made the point that 70% of the city's homeless actually come from outside Seattle. They didn't become homeless in Seattle. So they weren't sleepless in Seattle and they weren't homeless in Seattle, but they did come to Seattle so they could experience the joys and wonder of being homeless and drug addicts in Seattle. And now this is all coming out in the context of a pretty intense political fight right now between the two primary candidates running for mayor in the city of Seattle. And it is going to be one of these two people. If you don't understand how the top two primary process works, please go to my video down below. I do have a video that explains how the top two primary works in a jungle primary system like what we have in Washington State. But at this point in time, it's one of these two goofballs that are going to be mayor of Seattle. And it's really not a great choice. On one hand, you got the incumbent Bruce Harrell. He is a corrupt lying failure, somebody who's a chameleon of some sorts, certainly willing to say whatever he thinks he has to say and adapt himself to whatever audience he's speaking to. And the sad truth is he's actually the best option for the people of Seattle for this particular position because he's running against a complete loon, Katie Wilson, who is actually an even worse and completely insane leftist. Whatever bad policies that Bruce Harrell's going to have, she's going to double down and make them a lot worse. And I'm sorry for the voters of Seattle, but this is what you're stuck with. And truthfully, if you're going to vote for the lesser of two evils, you probably have to vote for Bruce Harrell. He's at least sort of sane, even if he's incompetent and corrupt. So it's really crazy. Now, one thing to point out when I say this is because under his tireless leadership, he has helped grow homelessness. And I keep putting air quotes around this because anybody who's ever paid any attention to this and cares about the issue at all, they know that drug addiction, substance abuse is a massive and huge part of homelessness, I'll air quote again, along with mental health issues. And of course, he's helped increase it by 39% since he got on the city council. I think it's been about 23% since he's been mayor. And it's been a lot of work and a lot of your tax dollars squandered and wasted by this crew in order to achieve such stellar results. And he's still mystified as to how the problem just doesn't somehow get solved. Of course, his opponent really plans to make everything much, much worse as fast as she possibly can. Probably she'll end up being almost as corrupt, probably even more as she works hard to enrich her NGO friends and anybody else who can extract taxpayer cash out of the city in her effort to destroy the city faster than Bruce Harrell can. And this is just really one of these things. I mean, this weird nature of this crazy goofball who's running for office. If you elect her, of course, you're going to increase the body count in Seattle. When we say body count, we're really talking about the fentanyl and other drug overdoses. You're going to be looking at a lot more victims of crime, since she doesn't believe there's such a thing as crime, and she thinks putting the most violent criminals in the streets of Seattle and continuing to release them is a super smart policy and the best thing that you could do if you want her to be mayor. So this is a challenge everybody's going to have to face here. Now, obviously, these two have no clue, and neither one of them is going to solve any of Seattle's problems, but one of them definitely makes them a lot worse a lot quicker. Now, people will say who live somewhere else, and they look in awe at the city of Seattle and the clowns and crooks that we put into government there. And they say, can you really be this stupid? And the answer is yes. And in fact, it can always be worse. Now, I will point out, I did a video a couple years ago. This is what it was basically about. If Mexican drug cartels actually ran the city of Seattle, would it be any different than the policies that we see today? And every time I go back and look at some of these older videos I did, I feel like I'm looking into the future, and they absolutely did predict what's going on. And it was just unfortunately very current. One of the big questions that many people have had is exactly how many of these grant grifting operations are actually money laundering fronts for the drug cartels up here in Seattle. And nobody really can tell for sure, but we do know a large percentage of your taxpayer dollars probably do get laundered back to them. What we do know also is it certainly isn't used to actually solve any of these problems. Because after all, if your objective is to attract more drug addicts and criminals to Seattle, what would you do? Well, you would do exactly what the Seattle City Council and the mayor has done for a long time. Number one, always give away free stuff. And if there's any place where everything's free, it's Seattle. Now, obviously, there is competition right now. You have Mayor Brown out in Spokane, who's doing her best to trash that city as quick as possible. You got Tacoma, you have Bellingham, you have Olympia and Vancouver. Portland, of course, just creating its own circus show down there. There is a competition among these blue, heavy, deep blue cities to see which group of people can actually do the policies even worse and create even more destruction where they live. But when I'm talking about free stuff, I'm talking about free everything. It's free food, it's free clothes, it's free pallets, it's free tarps, it's free tents, it's free healthcare, it's free Wi-Fi, it's free cell phones, it's free drug houses that you can go into for housing so they aren't technically homeless, and then they can go and have fentanyl overdoses in there. Everything's free, just free, free, free. Seattle. There's a reason why drug addicts come from all over America right here and all over the world if they can get across the border, because Seattle's the place where everything's free. So that's one of the ways that you can ensure and guarantee that you attract a lot more drug addicts and criminals. The other thing, of course, you must do is you have to give criminals a break. I mean, keep them on the street. Cashless bail, no jail time, 17, 20, 50, 100 arrests before anything happens to them at all. Make sure they don't serve any time under the ridiculous theory that you can't arrest your way to public safety. And instead, you need to take the public safety threats and stick them out on the street until they finally do the damage that they're inevitably going to get to. This is an important policy. Every Democrat that I know of in the city of Seattle thinks it's a great idea. That's not always true with the voters. Some of them are thinking maybe it's not such a good idea. But then again, the politicians are the ones who are making these decisions, and that's what they do. And then, of course, as part of that, they have to excuse all the bad behavior and blame others, whether that's Trump, global warming, who knows, Elon Musk, Israel, whatever you need to blame. Of course, no matter what happens in Seattle, no matter how crazy it is, the last person you're going to hold anybody accountable for is the actual drug addict or the criminal or the crazy person who commits the crime. And of course, the other part of that is to reduce the police presence so that it makes it even easier for criminals to get away with their crime and for drug addicts to kill themselves on the street. And then you really work hard to chase away any law-abiding people who are actually trying to contribute to the future of the city. And this is how you do it. I mean, this is the method that the elected officials in the city of Seattle have used. And if you're laughing at the city of Seattle, I don't blame you, but here's the reality. Even though this guy just can't figure out how the 70% of the homeless aren't from here, I'm going to tell you right now, if you live in a blue city and a red state, the same dumb policies are being implemented where you live. I was just in Bozeman and Missoula, same dumb policies. They might dress it up differently. They might have a church fronting as an NGO. go to bring in all the drug addicts and give them free stuff. Who knows? It's slightly different operation. Change the name, change the slight methodology, but it's basically the same. And I see it happening all over the country, including in the red states where you think you're immune to dumb Seattle ideas, because dumb Seattle ideas start here and then they spread like a disease faster than COVID and way more dangerous. And it starts with goofballs like this guy. Now, of course, these guys are clearly not the solution. That presumes, of course, that a solution would entail actually solving the problem. And you give them a chance, though, and this is always something to remember. It can always be worse, and people like this can always make it worse. In this case, you have one gal that'll definitely, absolutely, without a doubt, make it worse. And then you have one guy that's going to fumble along and continue to just muddle through, making it worse on a regular basis like he's done in the past. Now listen, it's easy to point out problems, and people oftentimes do, and Seattle invites mockery and widespread ridicule. However, there is something that we should look at for those of us who care and actually plan to fix some of these problems. We got to start somewhere. And right now, we do need to start training serious people so that they can actually repair the damage. The goofballs, clowns, crooks, and other people who run the government in Seattle or King County or elsewhere, eventually they're going to be replaced. And you do have to have serious, capable, and knowledgeable people to step into their shoes. Now, granted, I realize you could probably pull your average heroin addict off the street and they could do a better job. But we really do want serious people to step into these positions, get trained up, be knowledgeable about what they have to do, and care about the community in which we're just going to have to fix it at some point in time. So I do think it starts with training serious people now so that we can repair the damage in the future. We have to plan to cut off the grifting operations, all of them. Pretty much everybody working in this NGO space is part of the problem. Their goal is not to solve the problem, it's only to make it worse, because that's the only way you can increase your budget, bloat your operations, and justify your existence moving forward, since everything you're doing is pretty much failing, and stealing all the taxpayer dollars to support the operations is not good for anybody except for whatever political insiders are getting paid off along the way. And obviously, criminals actually need to go to prison. That's a radical idea for Democrats right now. Putting them back out on the streets or electing them to public office is not the best option, despite the fact that this is what the Democrats seem to be trying to do right now. And then, of course, we have to expose the truth to your neighbors extensively, widely, and widespread for many years. You can't count on whatever's left of the traditional media. There is no objective that they have to actually report the truth. Mostly they exist to perpetuate whatever narrative that they're handed to by the public information officers who work for the city of Seattle or King County or the state of Washington. So ultimately, we have to end up building our own networks to spread the information about just how incompetent and bad these people are, but also what the alternative policies can be to actually make it better. And it can be better, despite what we've watched these guys do. And the one thing to keep in mind is eventually all corrupt regimes fall, even in the city of Seattle. Seattle's eventually going to reach the same point that they did in the Soviet Union, they did in Eastern Europe, and eventually you can actually get there where it may seem impossible, may seem like it's never going to change, and then suddenly everything comes crashing down. And that's why you have to have serious people prepared and ready to step in when adults have to come in and take over after the children have destroyed the place. This is kind of what we're watching happen in the city of Seattle, watching happen in Portland, you're watching it happen in other states, California, Oregon, Colorado, places like that, Illinois. Eventually, though, adults do have to get in there and actually fix the problem. So it does help if you study up on it, get ready, and be prepared so that when that collapse inevitably happens, and when even the voters of Seattle recognize that they're going to have somebody different, there's at least a team, a farm team at least, to come in and pick up the pieces and start fixing what was broken. But it has to start with somebody. It has to start with people like you and I. Now, I don't live in the city of Seattle. My great-great-grandma used to live there. My family came into the city of Seattle originally. If you read my bio, you know that they were involved in starting the Pike Place Market back in the day. And at some point in time, we have to go back and fix what's there now. So I hope that this video helps you a little bit, and I hope it inspires you, because the truth is the only way you get there and fix these things is you have to start paying attention now, get involved, being engaged, learning what needs to be done, understanding what's wrong with the policies that we have today, and then being available so that when that inevitable collapse happens, that the serious people can come in and actually fix and clean up the mess. Starts with me, starts with you, starts with the people around us that we know that we can get involved with this. Because that's the only way to change the future, because the future does belong only to those who show up.